I was going to go easy on you, not to hurt your feelings.
You f***ing irritate the shit out of me!
I'm only going to get this one chance. It's just a feeling I've got. Like something's about to happen, but I don't know what.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let.
All right, brother. So it's recording. You've got your 15 minutes. Have at it, bro.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, big fan. Our mutual friend Gene Carr said he's pissed at you that you're not answering his texts.
I answered his text. I love Gene. Gene's my boy. So yeah. Justifiable. Justifiable. Yep.
Cool. Anyways, so I'm CEO of Recapped, and what we are is the sales collaboration platform. Long story short is we help create transparency in the sales process for everyone involved. But before I dive into that, first off, I'm not looking for your money or, I'm not trying to sell you on anything other than a potential partnership. Right? So this isn't something that you're going to be benefiting from, but your clients potentially could.
Okay. So still got a gap selling. Have you read the gap selling?
Yep.
Okay, good man. Because if you didn't, this is going to be a painful experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you try to sell me to partnership, then let's see how you dig into this one, because you can gap sell this too, but it's not as easy.
It's not as easy. Yeah. So a couple things. Obviously you're working with clients of all sizes, right? Let's say when you're working with clients that have, let's only stick to kind of the mid-market and enterprise sales.
Okay. Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges that your clients are facing? Is there a common thread that you're hearing across the board, or? I know it's a broad question.
Well, yeah, I think long sales cycles, a decline in revenue, not meeting growth goals, poor conversion rates, excessive discounting, stuff like that.
Cool. So let's stick to like the long sales cycle, because I think that's something everyone can face, right? More or less. And it's always going up. Why do you think when they're coming to you with long sales cycles, why are they long? Is it because their process isn't in place? Are they having inefficient training? What do you think is actually going on?
9 out of 10 times the salespeople are just butchering the sale. So the salespeople are product centric. They're pushing a product. And so they'll get them on the phone. They'll say, oh, look, our product is this, our product is that. It's like this, it's like that. You'll like this feature, you like that feature. And they push it. And the buyers, are intrigued by one thing, 3 things, 5 things, whatever. And like, okay, great, we're going to go talk to people. And they go talk to people. And of course, they can't sell it as well as the salesperson from a product perspective. Nobody really gets to the true problem. And so no one knows how to leverage the problem. So they just sit, and it's a cycle of they get back. I spit more information at them. My clients spit more information at them, then they go away and they come back, more information. There's really not much of a collaborative problem solving effort, and that drags the sales cycle out forever.
Okay. So I love what you said about collaborative process. What do you think, what would like the ideal process look like if it was collaborative? What would
I can't answer that. That's specific to each customer, to each customer, and the problems they're having and what their sales cycle looks like and where they're running into the problems. I wouldn't know how to answer that.
Cool, no worries. So I imagine following up with clients is something that comes up pretty regularly for your clients, right? So specifically on these bigger deals.
Yeah. You got to follow up. Yeah,
exactly. And then especially with a larger deal, now all of a sudden you have 15 or 10 different stakeholders that have to give approval, right? Do you know?
Yeah, there you go. It depends on what they're selling, and it depends on my customer. Yeah, in some cases.
Yeah. So in those cases, do you know if they're creating mutual action plans or close plans to really kind of multi-thread everybody together?
So no, usually they're not.
Okay.
Usually they're not. I'm a fan of closing plans towards the end of the sales cycle. I tell people they need to build closing plans when they get, I tell them they need to build closing plans when the customer says, yes, I want to buy.
Yep.
But they haven't signed on the dotted line yet, right? As Gene would say, our favorite buddy, he would say, the longest distance is from the lip to the pen.
Yep.
So when they say, yes, we want to do this, then there's all kinds of shit that has to be done on the back end from a closing perspective.
It's just half the battle, right, at that point. Yeah. And you have the verbal agreement, but you still don't have shit or an actual commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you've implemented mutual action plans in the past or you've recommended, I mean, what's been the impact of that? Is it faster sales cycle? Is it accountability? Maybe a little bit of everything?
That's a great question. So the few times I've recommended it, I'm trying to think. It usually hasn't been at a corporate level. It's usually at a rep level. Right. And that's a great question. I don't know that I've actually followed them all up to the end. What I can say is this is what I like about them, regardless of the fact that I can't even tell you how they turned out now that I think about it. One thing that did happen is everybody liked the visibility.
Yep.
So I know we had a whole different level of visibility now.
Yep. So let me ask you this, because the number one thing I hear is that from like every sales leader I talk to, is they're like, listen, I love mutual action plans, love the methodology behind it. They're a pain in the ass to implement and take a lot of work. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, the number one question is like, just like you mentioned, you don't know what the results are, probably because it was such a pain in the ass to implement in the first place. So what if your companies that you're working with, where is that?
Telling me already?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You got into the sell at 6 minutes in. Okay. All right.
No, I'm not selling. I'm just asking. What would the impact be if all of them could have those mutual action plans on every single important deal? If they had that visibility that you just talked about on every deal across the entire org.
So from a macro level, obviously, it would be good. I just did a call a few minutes ago with someone who was selling visibility. So obviously, I mean, I find it to be a cheesy question, but I get your point. Obviously, it would be beneficial if people had more visibility into the sales process.
Yeah. And so all these other companies also, I imagine they've invested in Salesforce and other enablement tools. I mean, what are the business cases when they're investing in tools like Outreach or Gong? I imagine it's also to increase that visibility.
So Outreach is, you get visibility, but I wouldn't say the main driver for Outreach is visibility into the sales process. I say it's the ability to contact more people more efficiently and effectively. Right. So if you're going to buy Outreach, what you're saying is, I believe Outreach is going to allow me to get more engagement going per prospect, per salesperson if they had to do it themselves. Number two, for Gong, I believe that's getting more visibility into the actual salesperson's selling abilities, not into the sales process. Although it could give you a little, if you're coaching them and you pick up on what you heard. I guess there's some overlap there, yes. But generally speaking, no, I don't think it's not designed to give you more insight into the sales process, because you may listen to a Gong call that's, weeks after the process, right? Not every manager listens to it in real time.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess, this is a little bit of a tricky situation since I'm like talking on behalf of your clients, but long story short, like I'll go into the sell. What we allow is that visibility in the entire process, right? So with Recapped, sales reps can go in, create a mutual action plan, literally in 3 clicks, share it with the client, assign next steps, and have every single step mapped out. So we're sending on automatic email reminders along the way. When the clients that you're talking to, with the visibility and the mutual action plans, like if they had that at every single part where they got the verbal agreement, what do you think would happen for, I guess, their sales cycle? Would that tie into their goal of longer sales cycle?
I think in some cases it might. I don't know. Again, I've never been really good at being a prognosticator or someone who predicts the future and shit like that, or looks at a macro picture, right? I think from a micro perspective, I think this would be great for some deals that have multiple decision holders, deal with procurement, right? So if I could do with procurement, I think this might be good for deals where when you get the verbal yes, there's a high percentage of risk that it still doesn't close. Yep. So here's my first piece of advice to you, right? Here's my first piece of feedback, right? Who you identify as a customer and your ideal customer profile, in my opinion, based on what you've shared with me right here, needs to be people who what they sell has a low close rate after the verbal yes.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Right, so as you're sitting here, you're asking me all these questions. That'd be one of the very first questions I'd ask, and one of the first things I try to find out is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, let me ask you a question. Do you find that you have an unacceptable loss rate after they verbally said they're going to go with you?
Yep.
Right? If the answer is no, I don't think you have anything.
So, I mean, I could argue there, but yeah, that's exactly it. So, like, the companies we're targeting and the companies that we've been the most beneficial with are, the cybersecurity, the ones that have POCs and a whole bunch of shit that needs to happen after doing the yes, right? Just like you mentioned.
Yeah. So that needs to be some of the early questions you're asking. Like, that needs to be the problem you're trying to find.
Yep.
Right. So if you're trying, even for a partnership, if you're trying to sell me, the first thing you should have probably wanted to ask me was like, hey, Keenan, listen, with all these people you're dealing with, how many of them struggle in the last 10th mile or in the last mile of the sales call, right? And how many of them get verbal yeses, or better yet, do many of them get verbal yeses that then end up being no's because they couldn't get through all of the shit, because stuff surprises them, because procurement's involved, legal's involved, terms and C's, proof of concepts, trials, blah, 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 blah. Right? And so they do all the work to get the verbal yes, but then don't close it. Like, that's what you should be looking for, right?
I love that.
Right? And then I'd walk through all of that, and if I don't have any of that, then don't keep trying to push me. Or is there another problem you solve if I don't have that problem?
Yeah. So standardization, getting everybody on the same page, right?
And how is that a problem?
Because a lot of sales leaders we talk to, if they survey their reps, every single rep has a different process for following up. Wild West.
Okay. All right. So what does that lead to?
So unpredictability.
Unpredictability is defined by how?
You don't know which deals are going to close because there's no standardized process.
Perfect. Okay, so then why don't you start with that in the next question? So if I tell you I don't have that complex sale towards the end, then once you ask the next question, hey, tell me a little bit about the predictability of your sales organization. Are you happy with the predictability of close?
And they say, of course not.
Then you say, okay. Okay, what do you say next?
Yeah, so why do you think that is?
Good, right? And I don't know what they'd say. They might say, look, my sales team, they don't know how to predict, or our business is different, right? Our customers are all over the place. It just depends. It's kind of too hard, etc. So then what do you say?
Yeah. So the number one thing we hear when we talk to someone is
I hate that. Fucking hate that. What is it you hear? Tell me what you hear.
That you can't measure. You can't improve what you can't measure.
Okay. So flip it and just ask the question. Can you measure
what you can't? Yeah. Can you improve what you can't measure?
Okay, yes, but
you're right.
What were you going to say? What we hear is people can't improve what they can't measure, and therefore what?
Therefore, I mean, because they don't have a standard process in place, they're shooting from the hip every single time.
Okay, so then why don't you ask that question instead? Don't fucking talk about what other people do. Say, hey, do you think, because he just admitted to you that he has bad forecasting. So it's like a doctor. Be like, hey, listen, could you tell me a little bit about, watch this. Can you tell me a little bit about how your team measures their activity, how they do their follow-up or track their follow-up, and does everybody do the same follow-up?
No.
You see the difference? It's diagnosis. You're just like a doctor. If I just told you I got a fucking lump on my ass, right? You're not going to tell me, well, most people I see come in and say they did it this. You're never going to say that, right?
Yeah.
You don't ever want to hear a doctor look at you and say, well, most people that come in, because you're going to feel like I'm not most people, right? But if you flip that shit and you say, all right, tell me, do you sit all day? Have you been, do you have an animal? Have you been out in the woods? Do you see, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yes. And then start getting him to talk to them about his lifestyle, where he's been, what he does. Listen intently until you figured, that's what that shit might be. So you do the same thing with this cat. Tell me a little bit about how your team follows up. Is there consistency in the follow-up? Tell me a little bit how your team tracks that follow-up. Tell me a little bit about whatever else you think you can fix.
Yep. No, I love that.
You see where I'm going?
Yep.
And then what you're trying to do is you're trying to get that buyer to tell you, yes, this is a problem I have. And then trying to get them to explain the impact of that and how it negatively affects them. Once you get them to say, yeah, man, all of these guys, literally think about this story we're weaving right here through questions, not statements.
Yep.
Once you get that cat to say, yes, our forecasting is messed up, right? You can come back later to find out how messed up it is. If you do, you come back and find out how messed up it is. We miss it all the time by 20, 30% or whatever the case may be, right?
Yep.
And then you get him to say it's because my team does everything different. You get him to say it's because no one tracks anything. You get him to say whatever else you think's important. Then you say, well, wait a minute. I can fix that. Would you open to talk about how we can fix that? And would you be open to addressing this? You don't have to deal with this anymore. The minute he says yes, you got it.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, we haven't even touched into the impact of that, right? Like, if they're missing forecasting, what does that mean for him?
Yes.
Is he losing
Yep.
reps?
Yep.
Is he about to be fired? Right?
Yep.
Is he losing out on a promotion? So,
Yep.
How does that make him feel? Root
Yep.
cause, et cetera.
Yep. I'm a little reticent to get too into the personal gain for people to buy things, but I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see the difference?
Yeah. No, it's good.
Right? And so as far as if you're trying to sell me in the partnership piece, one of the first questions I would have asked or tried to get to is additional revenue streams or something, right? Now, if you're getting me just to be a referral source, okay, that's fine, but that's really not a sale. You just kind of say, hey, look, I need your help. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Et cetera. Because no one's going to be a referral source for free unless they have a relationship. So that becomes a relationship sale. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Right. So if you're trying to sell me on the friendship one, really not a gap sell. Your friends, let me tell you what you do. If you see this happening, I'd love some help. Can I call in and check out whatever, right? But if you're trying to get me to actually make it a formal type of thing, then not only do I have to see the problems in the space I'm working, but you also got to find out how it's beneficial to me.
Cool. So let's explore that then.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you partnering with other companies for additional revenue streams?
No.
Why not?
Too much. I think we're too small. It's too much work. I don't need to confuse it. Like I'm having a hard enough time keeping my own shit going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now to start having formal relationships where I pitch other stuff. I do referrals, and I think as we get bigger, we may consider that. You know what I'm saying? But right now, I'd rather just be like, hey, I see this problem. Go get recap.io.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly why I didn't lead with that too, because most partners that we have, they don't want to muddy the water, right? They have a conflict of interest. So that's why I figured let's go the relationship route.
Yeah. So I think you made the right choice as far as the route's concerned. My point is kind of hard to sell that.
Yeah.
Right, to gap sell that because I don't really have a problem. I'm doing it's a goodwill sale, and as long as you establish the goodwill and you did with Gene or whatever, right? Then and there were no expectations that I'm going to change your revenue structure because I'm going to bring you to so many deals, right? It's just it's not even a sale; it's a request.
Yep, exactly.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Okay, all right. But in spite of that, was this helpful?
Yeah, no, this was great. Hopefully this will be posted up on LinkedIn so I get a copy of it as well. Or?
Yeah, and I'll send you a copy anyways. Absolutely. Yeah. But all right. So what are you gonna change?
Cut out the bullshit of here's what other people tell me and just cut straight to the source.
Okay. And what problems do you solve? What's the number one problem you think you solve?
Transparency and visibility.
No, but you can do better. What was it?
I mean, we could close deals faster and we give you predictability on.
Okay, specific, but be more specific. What problem do you solve? We said this. This is so important.
We create a consistent.
No, when you say
when
you say we create, that's future state, right? State in the current state. What problem does someone have today that you solve?
Inconsistent follow-up processes across their team, or inconsistent sales process.
I can live with that, but it's not as powerful.
Okay.
Because inconsistent. Look, I'm sure mine's inconsistent, but we're closing a fucking shitload of deals.
Yeah.
Okay. We said it, Mark. We said it. We talked about it. I cannot let you get off this phone without it like being drilled into your head. What is it?
Unacceptable loss after a verbal agreement.
Yes. Yeah. Do you see the difference, Mark? No, honestly, now, if you don't.
No, I do.
That is okay. Do you want to sell to inconsistent? What did you say? Inconsistent what?
Bullshit. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, inconsistent something, right? Inconsistent sales process, or do you want to find people who have an unacceptable or too high of a loss rate after the customer already said they buy? Which one do you want to sell to?
Unacceptable.
Yes, like that's a real problem, right? Can't you even feel, like, can you literally feel the difference?
Yeah.
Yes, if someone says to you, look, we get 100 people to say yes, they're gonna buy, and then only 20 actually buy, that's a shit show.
Yeah.
Something tells me that's exactly why you built your business.
I mean, literally, that's actually the pitch. How the way we got Gene is, so we're fundraising, and that's exactly the reason I created this company. Right?
That's the fucking reason.
Yeah, I spent 8 months pursuing a deal. It fell apart after a verbal agreement.
Tell that story. Like, fuck, your whole story is right there, but then you get on and you try to sell it to somebody and you don't pitch it that way.
Right.
Come on, baby. Come on. All right?
The weeds as a CEO.
Yeah, truth. But salespeople do it all the time.
Yeah.
Salespeople do it all the time. So it's not just you.
Cool, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, my pleasure, my man. Thank you very much. Everybody else who's watching, if you want to spend 15 minutes pitching me to buy your product, because I will buy it if I need it and if I have a big enough problem, DM me on LinkedIn. We'll get you set up and we'll have you come on and we will listen to what you have to say and see, are you a gap seller?
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it.